we thought what we'd do, since we do have a few folks who have not been here before, is once again introduce ourselves. Just, I am such and such, and this is my job, or this is why I'm here. The overarching sense that I have about this meeting tonight is that we have some really good news to share. And we also want to hear your good news. We're all committed to action, and so that's what we'd like to either report tonight or set in motion tonight. Good? I got a phone call this morning from Clyde Chrisman, who's the head of DCR in Richmond. He wanted to let us know that Green Pastures, Longdale, made it into the House budget, and it is now going to our governor's desk for signature. Nice. So it looks like
we're back.
We're back.
We are back.
This makes me so happy, and it's great news for our area and for all of us as citizens.
For you all, nobody, I guess everybody knows this. We had the funding already secured, but we lost it due to the COVID. So this is just them trying to put it back in. So hopefully it'll get passed all the way. But it's moving, so I'm excited.
Yeah. So Pam has some other good news to share.
Have to pass the Senate?
Senate already did.
They signed it, was included in the Senate version of the budget first. It went to the House. We are very happy that the House included it too.
So I just want to talk about a historic park in Clifton Forge called Booker T. Washington. We finally have some private citizens who've stepped up to try to do some renovations and improvements to this park. Reba, you might need to help me on this, but I understand they have $8,000 already, a little over $8,000. Yeah. And the goal is $30,000. And I think they're going to put a brand new pavilion in that park and dedicate it to the memory of Reverend Matthew Barnett, who was very instrumental in doing things at the park. And he was also NAACP president of Clifton Forge and a pastor. So I'm really excited about that. And anybody who wants to make donations, you can make them at the town of Clifton Forge. The town is managing the budget. Is that right, Reba? So that's exciting. And we want to talk about Wrightsville.
We partner with Allegheny County to get some funding to do improvements to our neighborhood. It's the oldest minority community left in Wrightsville. So we applied in last October, I think it was. We got awarded $1.4 million. Wow. To do revitalization, and that would include the infrastructure as well as the housing. Some of the houses are going to be rehabbed, some of them are going to be built from the ground up. Allegheny County is our physical agent. We've been working very closely with Allegheny County and John them from the whole process. It's been 3.5 years. 3.5 years we've been working on the project.
Wow.
Yes, from start to finish, and we are in the process of right now getting the housing part started of it. They're actually doing some bidding right now, and so maybe by next month a hammer may hit a nail. We're fortunate enough to be working with the county. Some of my forefathers and my ancestors and stuff, I know they're smiling down because they worked very hard in Wrightsville. We're looking for the improvements. And they actually did a piece yesterday. Was it yesterday, John? Or the day before yesterday?
I think it was the day before. Was it the day before?
Yeah, Lindsay Ward came over and did a piece on us. And there's 2 different episodes. One was at 5 and one was at 7. This talk about the project and the history of Wrightsville, and she's going to follow it all the way through. So it's a good indication, and a good you get to work together. It's a minority community, but work together. And when you put your mind and everything to it, you can come up with anything. So we're really excited about the project, and actually after this time to get it started and do completion. We have 30 months to get it complete.
Wow.
Wow. That's awesome. Aren't you guys looking at rehabbing the old schoolhouse down there?
We're looking at that, and we've got some other projects that are in the works that
we're working with different folks on, and sewer revitalization, and actually we've just started the process of investigating some housing revitalization grants for some of the lower income residents in town that need some assistance. And but that's just really in the very infancy stages. We're just getting started with that and starting some of the qualification process to see what happens with that.
So as you can see, things on the move between Covington, the county, Clifton Forge, and Iron Gate. And I'm just so grateful to have all of our law enforcement heads here, our town managers from Covington and Clifton, government council members from Clifton, Iron Gate Mayor. This is what this region has got to be all about, moving forward, united and inclusive. So thank you all. I do appreciate it very much.
I'm gonna, before we get into other things that y'all have been working on, I want to mention this book project, What's Your Story, which many of you know about. This is the volume we did on green pastures, where we interviewed folks who use green pastures during the segregated era as well as afterwards. The good news about this book series is that the What's Your Story Committee has agreed, if we can get some help, to have issue 5 be about growing up a person of color in the Allegheny Highlands. So we're really looking forward to getting that underway. We'll talk more individually, but just wanted to point this out. If you haven't seen this book on green pastures, it's pretty amazing.
I guess everyone was trying to give an update of actions in their localities. On behalf of Covington City Council, really pleased that we have formally adopted a Ban the Box initiative. And we've also worked on...
What's Ban the Box?
Ban the Box is that on job applications, we're no longer asking gender, race, criminal background. We are only inquiring about a criminal background if someone is a finalist. So someone is not nixed from any sort of potential hiring process based on the application itself.
That's good. Kim is standing up for trying to help establish the NAACP in Clifton and Covington jointly. Is that correct, Kim?
That's correct.
Allegheny Highlands, right?
Yes.
Allegheny Highlands NAACP.
There was some conversation the last time about, is it possible to have some of the officials and some people on these elected boards and stuff to go to any type of diversity training, like public officials? Do they or can they, can it be a suggestion for them to maybe, because of some of the issues that we're facing, they understand that they have some training that's available somewhere, sometime for people in those positions? Do you know anything, John?
All of us police officers have to have 2 hours of culture diversity within every 2 years. We have 40 hours of ed service training that we have to complete. And I just completed we have the Chiefs of Police Association, DCGS has sponsored the implicit bias training that we've made available for all of our people that we can do online, and our guys get credit for that 2-year period. That time frame. So we've already got ours.
Yeah, we've already, majority of my, well actually, they say all of my department has already been trained with that stuff here recently.
What about the county, John? Well, the reason I say that, because I'm not trying to put on the spot, but it's the reality is that we're dealing with the issue and it keeps coming.
The board members.
It keeps coming, yes, the board members come back every board meeting. So is that a valuable option and stuff like that? Because sometimes when people have training or whatever else, maybe they can share a different light or a different view. May not change how they really feel on the inside, but as an elected official, sometimes it may be important to at least make an effort.
And no, John and I have been playing tennis with that and going back and forth on it. And I think that I don't want to speak for you, John, but my sense is from your end that you see it as a much smaller group interaction that might be more effective rather than having a lecture of sorts. But it is something I feel like we do definitely need to find a format for and a time to do. And then the question becomes, is it mandatory
Or volunteer.
or volunteer? Do we give specific issues that we want the presenter to cover? Is it done by Zoom? Is it done in person? Do we want to go through the state DI, the Diversity and Inclusivity Office? Ingrid had suggested someone from UVA. I'm opening it up to you all.
Well, I just want to say, if the board member has said they're not going to apologize and they're not going to resign, so it looks like a stalemate. What, they're going to keep coming to the meetings and sit each other out? I mean, I just don't understand how somebody who said something that somebody received as being offensive, how can they then say it wasn't offensive to them? I don't get it. I don't know. So what's the training going to do if they have asked that he apologize or resign?
But I don't know what you as a council member or board member, when you go to, I guess, VACO, or after you get elected by the people.
Right.
Unfortunately, do they require you to have certain trainings after that
Yeah.
election by the people?
Once the newly elected council members are required to take that FOIA training that the VML provides.
So
But that's it?
if you don't take that training, then what is
Conflict of
it?
interest for.
Right.
Every 2 years.
To me, that board member, and I'm just looking at the reality, and maybe I shouldn't even talk about it, but if that person says, I'm not taking it, I already got elected by the people. So
Right.
why, how can you make me take this training?
Right.
Maybe you should work with the VML or VACO or whoever requires that training. Maybe that should be something that the state should require, the state requires us as law enforcement to have the culture diversity training every 2 years. So maybe board members or other elected mayors, council members, or whatever they need to add that to their training.
That's a
that they
good
have.
thought.
You
That
don't
is a
have
good
to
thought.
have
Yeah.
Continuing education or any hours or any other continuing training.
Yeah, I mean, unless you sign up for
Unless you want
the
that.
certification project,
I
which
mean,
is
The reality
very
is, we
intense.
can try to bring the training here, but is it going to
Right.
accomplish the issue that you want to make, and I know John's probably saying, I shouldn't think for John, but, I mean, how can you make an elected official
Go to training.
go to training?
I think that we can make a recommendation back to the local governing bodies
That's the word.
as a suggestion or a recommendation that we would like to see the local officials have some bias training. It doesn't say that anybody is a guilt or fault. It's just saying that as this group, this core group here, we're making a recommendation. What the local officials decide to do with it will be their decision. But we can't say that we haven't tried by making a recommendation, and we can get someone to bring it here via Zoom, or we can get a speaker to come, and have it recorded. But I think that, making the recommendation that's not gonna put any fire under anybody or force anybody to do anything. It's just saying we're making the recommendation.
So will that be a matter of record, though? Will that be a matter of record that this group made the recommendations to? Oh, okay.
Would be in the minutes of the meeting, yeah.
It might be an ideal opportunity to do a two-pronged approach, right? That there's a formal recommendation letter as a result of the committee meeting, and, you can indicate the folks that came and the public members that felt compelled to make the recommendation to the elected officials. But then there's also an opportunity to begin lobbying at the state level, right? Because the issue, while it's also an issue here, it's a broader issue that's impacting localities throughout the state. And, we would be doing ourselves a disservice without at least trying to write, between the governor's office or, our state elected officials, as well as the sheriff said, sending, as you all as elected officials can actually send formal notice to VML, to VACO, to those kinds of things, to at least gain some traction and awareness on it, that, localities do see a need for these things. Localities do see that it's just as important as FOIA training.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I will
Also
say,
deals with legalities and other issues that can end up in, costing a locality, or just, there's a lot that goes into bias training and cultural diversity and all of those things.
Diversity training of all sorts, especially in the lines of racial equality. I'd like to see things happen through such a group as that maybe we get the state to come up with some funding to do some grant work to help people that have been disadvantaged in their lives due to especially racial discrimination be able to develop themselves fully and create other enterprises and grow inequality that way, which changes the landscape of things completely when people feel empowered, more empowered, that you don't hand down generation to generation the levels of poverty that you're going to be discriminated against throughout your whole life. People will have some discriminatory thoughts. I've always heard a saying a long time ago, and I firmly believe, be careful about what you think. Thoughts become actions. So think properly.
Okay.
Like it says in the Bible, Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And we need to change that culture in all. I think we first make it happen in the public sector, or in the administrative sector, then it goes on. In my former work life, diversity training was required. You had to pass that. You had to take that. You have to take it regularly
Yeah,
in
that
order
makes
to
sense.
keep your mind set proper for treating everybody equally.
Would you be willing to take responsibility for approaching
Oh,
Delegate Austin as well as Senator Deeds?
Oh,
And-
yeah, I can.
Kevin's doing that.
As far as drafting the letter, I'm sure there's someone that's a lot more capable than I am of that, but I will definitely be the person that can
Advocate for it?
contact
All right. I'll draft the letter, and you will advocate for it. How's that?
okay.
Action. Thank you.
you. Yes, ma'am.
So the local heads of government here, Reba and John and
Crystal.
Mayor Unruh, and who have I mentioned?
Crystal.
Crystal in the back, I can't see you back there. Would you like to receive, as a matter of course, a letter from this committee asking for that kind of training? Would it make implementing it easier for you?
From where I sit, yeah, because one of the things that we've tried to promote all along is all of the communities coming together. And this is just a further evidence of that.
Yeah,
This is, it's beginning to snowball and
Yeah.
come together on all fronts. And a letter from this group would further enforce that this is not something that we're asking one individual or
one
a specific group of
locality.
individuals. We're asking the
The
whole
whole.
area as a whole to step up to the plate and take the responsibility to see that this happens and moves forward in the manner that it should. So, yeah, I would very much appreciate that letter.
Okay.
On the one hand, we can't really invite everybody because of the social distancing. But I agree with you, if we had a platform, but if my age group puts out a Facebook, I don't think you guys are gonna run and join it. But if you guys put it out, we'll attract more young people. And that's what we really need. We need the young people to carry this banner because we're peaceful marchers and you guys want action. So if you guys will agree to do that, I would appreciate it. So what do you think? TikTok, Instagram,
All of them.
MySpace,
All of the
MySpace.
above.
All of the above. We do it where
I'm
they
just
include
kidding.
all of them Twitter, all of them do it in Facebook.
I'm brand new here, so forgive me. I'm going to stand on I'm the newbie here. Real change comes from relationship building and knowledge. Any suggestions of how we can address that? I mean, the issues that were taken up and that I've heard thrown around are excellent, but how are we going about building relationships?
Well, I'm telling you, Reverend Sator? Is that
Marion.
Marion.
Fine.
When I came back here in 2014, I don't think Covington and Clifton were sitting in the same sandbox, and definitely Iron Gate wasn't a player, but this has really grown by leaps and bounds
Excellent.
just in that time frame. I do believe the county was already having relationships because they're
I'm one of those
overarching.
people that wants change yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is good for us. The fact that we're in the meeting, the same meeting across localities, that we have really come a long way. So relationships are changing in the area. And that's the way we're going to survive, I believe, going forward.
Think it'd be a good opportunity for citizens and residents to actually just interact with law enforcement, not wearing a badge and a gun. And it turned out really well. We even had people from one of the local residents, Adrian Johnson, he actually come to me about it, and we promoted it. We got a lot of out of town people. Even got some professionals that actually watched on ESPN. Playing football. And we had a real good turnout. It was during the Heritage Day weekend.
Yeah.
So I mean, looking forward, you got a lot of people looking forward to it, may or may not have come anyway, but I thought it was a real good opportunity. Remember the sheriff's office came down, Virginia State Police came down, and everybody just had a real good time. It was a good turnout. We was going to try to plan a second annual one, but good old COVID.
Good old COVID.
Put the brakes on everything, pretty much, so.
Well, that initiative came as a result of our offices going door to door, talking to people, and I think Adrian challenged you and said, hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was good, I
Yeah.
thought.
Chad, do you want to talk about your meeting in November also for the folks who didn't hear it last time?
I just reached out to some, I guess, pastors in the community. I didn't handpick the people that went to the meeting. It's just a small number to go over policies and give, I guess, pastors an opportunity to speak to people in their congregation that may not want to come to a formal meeting and feels like they can have or ask certain questions, so they can kind of use their pastor or somebody like that as a liaison to the police department. So, we can go over policies and procedures on what we're actually doing here locally compared to what people are seeing across the nation, and gives them an ask and answer opportunity.
One of the things I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks is going out and just trying to explore that. That's one of the biggest problems we've had. We did a couple of years ago, of course, canvas across the city of Covington at the time of my administration. But keeping it limited, taking the precautions and trying to get out to the neighborhood, at least me as the chief, going out in the neighborhood, picking the day and going out, and then also doing another venue where basically coffee with a cop, having a cup of coffee, getting them in, we'll ask those questions that Chad was talking about, try to explain some of the things and why we do what we do in certain scenarios. But that's at least what we're doing in the city of Covington. I haven't started it yet, but it's coming. COVID is a big factor.
Yeah.
Maybe you all do a free, you can register for SurveyMonkey, do a free survey of up to 10 questions.
That'll work.
And that can just be posted anywhere. I'm sure Allegheny Journal would be happy to share it. Virginia Review on their Facebook page, but that way then, it's available for folks to take, and then it gives you guys some actual measures, like what percent of folks felt to what extent it was this or that.
That's a good idea.
That really can
Great
also
idea.
help drive, just discussion, right? What's going to be the biggest hot topic?
Yeah, that'd be
Is
great.
it the barriers to employment, or is it just how I'm treated every day, walking down the street, or
Is it in the school system
or
or?
the issues in the schools, that kind of thing. And SurveyMonkey is really, really easy to use. It's easier than Facebook.
So how will we
You
get
just
that?
go to surveymonkey.com and you register and you start filling out your questions and you make it live, you get a link, and you share it. I mean, we did that for Covington.
Share it
Police
with
Chief,
who,
for
though?
instance. Like, what were the qualities that folks wanted?
Who do you share it with? Don't you have to have email addresses to send that?
You can put it on your social media.
Oh, okay.
accounts, or
Okay.
your city webpage, your locality's webpage. Like for Covington, when we did our survey for PD, chief recruitment, like what are the qualities you want to achieve? We had, if you went to the website and you just clicked on it, like we wanted to hear from you, you click on it and it automatically took you to the survey. I mean, it's not very difficult.
I
Like if
guess
someone was looking at
We
Jerry's
need to
journal,
give
they could
these young
see,
people a
Allegheny
contact.
Journal.
Well, you have it.
And they could see, you know, that there's a survey out, just kind of like how they did the school survey recently.
Okay, that sounds good.
It's real easy to share it, so it
That-
doesn't have to be email specific.
That's even better, Crystal.
A couple things I want to say. We have a lot of department heads here. We can survey, we can small group, we can diversity train. But what your department heads need to do is to hire. Instead of, I want to hire, I want to do this, I'm looking for, just hire. Hire minorities. That's going to make a big difference right there. I've told my chief, everything you all have said, put your foot to the pavement. Within Clifton Forge is unique in this way. You can walk within town limits, anywhere you need to go. Put your foot to the pavement. Instead of seeing the police car when the blue lights go by your house, put the foot to the pavement, Chief. I've talked to you about that. I've invited him, and I suggest you all, when the churches reopen, some have reopened, some have not, start with your churches. That's where you're going to get your biggest amount of people. We need to get to know our leaders. Knock on doors. Chief met some people recently that I introduced him to just through a problem that we have with the house in the area. So the walk, the diversity walk we had a couple Saturdays ago, sponsored by Hope. It was only a few, but that was wonderful. Covington Chief was there. So I think, do the training, do all of that. We need to know that the department heads are, what are you all anti-on? You know, what do you definitely not put up with? I think we need to go more in that line as well. And as far as Clifton Forge, it's an older community. There's surveys online, all that's fine, but that's not ever going to trump talking to that person in person. Knock on the door, talk to them.
I think that's what Ingrid suggested.
And John, building on John's.
Bring all of that information.
You
Yeah.
actually put it on paper, you could actually put it in people's mailboxes, I mean.
That's a good idea,
Somebody left
Kevin.
something in my door last night, you know what I did?
Threw it away.
Opened the door bulb and put it in the trash. You can't even take a few minutes to knock on my door and try to have a few words with me. I just put it right in the trash. You have to,
It's about relationships.
you have to get
Yeah.
personal.
It is about relationships. And that's what the pastor was saying, relationships.
I'm going to challenge each of us, and I include myself, to come back to the next meeting having knocked on at least one door, having asked and listened and built some kind of relationship, whether it's a 5-minute, 10-second, whatever. But what do y'all think? Could we all do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
another action item.
Okay.